S temi noži se igraš na en tak način, da ti povem, mama, da si norc v pravem smislu besede. The way this incident again with the knives happened today is in such a way that as I was taking her home from father, I was talking to her about the car parts, repair dealerships, how they charge money, and private mechanics. And what she started to do is the car is like this. She started to do that kind of stuff, which is a normal thing for her to do. You talk to her about things that matter, about serious topics. Of course, that's not serious because I'm a mental patient. I'm insane. And talking about car parts and cars is just crazy because what do I have to look forward to other than the psychiatric hospital Ljubljana Polje? This is how she treated me together with the psychiatrist during MK Ultra. And, well, once I came home, she did exactly as she promised me that she would do whenever I would start with the car topics or something, if I would talk to her. And that she just started to praženje. I don't know how you say praženje, but it's absolutely everything I told her about the new car technology, how difficult it is for people when they buy new cars because of the very high emission standards, and people spend a lot of money repairing cars, and dealers are not very dishonest about this repairs also. Everything that I stated was, she labeled me, absolutely everything that I stated was, no, that's not true. No, that's not true. This is, everything that I state, it's always is like this. It's like saying to her basically the stuff that you read, it's like, no, and that's not true. That's not true. That's not true. She did this shit throughout my lifetime, basically, and that's used to create certain personality. Like, you try to explain mommy, which is acting like she's acting like she's just acting like, sometimes she's acting like, oh, really? Oh. You know, I didn't know that in that sense. On other occasions, she's just pushing the button to get a feedback like that. You try to explain her, and the more that you try to explain her, the more she gets out of it. The more pleasure she gets out of it by denying, putting you on a crazy, in a situation that you crazy. Yeah. Yeah, crazy, absolutely crazy. And so she did exactly as she stated that she would do. This is a psychology, this is a psychiatry right now. Zdravce, mami. Zdravce bom šel, ja, psihiatrija me čaka. And it did exactly as she told me that she would do as soon as we would get home if I would start talking to her about the cars. I went to the gas station before I bring her home, and nothing pleased her, absolutely nothing pleased her. She was very dissatisfied with it. And started to praženje. Praženje is, it's like you would put vegetables on here. She did it here and started to put the vegetables, and it started to put the sound like, you know, it's practically hot pot. It's like you would put the water on it. It's also called dušenje. And it does a lot of that vapor that start to comes out of the vegetables and stuff. That's what she's preparing the food here. She's a very good cook, by the way. And at the same time, she pulls the big fucking knives out, like always. She was using this knife here, to chop the onion. This was the knife that she started to chop the onion with. And then she pulled this knife out. And this is the knife that she was using to peel the carrots. And she told me specifically during MK Ultra that she would do this whenever I would start talking to her about cars and stuff. She likes to talk about the cars. She was very, very, with the police, with psychiatrist Kapš, she was very talkative about these things. But no, not with me, because she gets the company from the neighbors, from the people at home for elderly, and so on. She has her circle of the people and niece, and I am practically somebody that doesn't exist. Everything was good until she started to actually, well, I was trying to prepare myself eggs here. I grabbed the knife again and started to move toward this direction where I was right here. I was on the side over there. I was just placing myself eggs inside of the pot. So water inside of the pot where I had eggs so I could cook myself eggs. And that's what I had enough. I said, Mom, the only thing that's going to happen is I'm going to slap you so hard that you're not going to pick yourself up from the floor very soon. And the next thing I'm going to do, I told her I'm going to just call the police. That's the only thing I'm going to do. The fact of the matter is that she was placing knives here. She's got a screwdriver here, like this. And police told her she keeps leaving the crazy knives like this. She keeps playing with them. They didn't tell her, the Americans that were here, they told her to watch out with her playing with the knives. They told me, actually, when you're inside of the room, for which they knew I'm going to be inside of that room, they knew about it because they infested with moths because of the issues like this. My room, that's where they were bringing me from Poland to see how they plant moths inside the room. Investigators from Novo Mesto police station. They told me, if you have to, you even use your laptop computer to block her from stabbing you. She thinks that's funny. They thought that stuff is funny, it's cute, it's a normal thing. And it's pretty much the same thing as to, yeah, she's giving me the signs that I'm insane. A little earlier she said, oh, you preparing again eggs. She also had a problem because I went inside of the store and I spent 22 euros for the food yesterday, buying myself tomatoes, spinach. I'm going to show you the bill and basically what I spent. The thing is, I never do this stuff. I don't do it 3 times a year if I do it. And she started to just say to me basically stuff on that I'm good again because you have a food and so on and so forth. She is obnoxious, with one word, obnoxious. You come home so that you could eat something and go. And this shit here, this is just basically searching for fight, for arguments. I think that today, right now, that she referred to me as a mental patient, I don't know how many times, just by my going and preparing myself those eggs over there. And for warning her to please stop playing with the fucking knives, which I have a bunch of videos. This isn't the first time she did this. She previously created threatening moves with the knives and stuff like that. Like this, it didn't happen the first time, it happened before already. She told me that she would go and start to put vegetables on the fry vegetables and stuff as soon as I would talk about the cars, car parts, and stuff like this. This is truly life with a mental patient. Truly is. Next to the very unpleasant work that I do, this is my everyday. The telephone absolutely is not working. Absolutely is not working, because as soon as I squeeze the stop button, stop recording button, it does not record. It actually starts recording as soon as you squeeze the stop button. I have never seen a telephone like this before yet. I had 2 eggs with what you refer to as a pork cracklings, I think. Or svirki, whatever, in English. And with the 2 tomatoes in a vinegar and raw spinach. She referred to that as super luxury food. Luxus. It is, because it's something tasty, and the way to push individual away from eating the food that he's supposed to eat is by making sure that he wouldn't get, I should say, add to the food absolutely anything tasty. This is one of the strategies they have also used to push into a garbage food. The second thing, yes, I went to the store yesterday. I purchased this stuff. It's very good. Yeah, she had a big problem with the eggs. I was very upset that I boil eggs over there. The second thing, my mother started the first time it was 2005, when Robert Golob stated me that he already noticed doing my mom this already before, and it was about knives. Play with the knives. 2005, I just observed and Robert Golob and police expressing concerns, not really concerns. In 2008, Igor Juršič was actually amused by this. It was like funny. At first it was a concern, and then I could see in him that he was actually satisfied with that. It was about knives. Mother play with the knives. All the police officers, in a parenthesis, police officers, scum that barricaded itself inside of this home, Igor Juršič, Andrej Štefanič, females, even the female that I met at the police station, even the female that I met at the end of the village when an individual assaulted me. Štefanič, Juršič, Zajšek, and others all knew about my mother's play with the knives. Beginning 2010, these police officers wanted to know exactly the response I would take if my mother assaulted me with the knives. Beginning 2010, these police officers, Robert Golob, they all wanted to know how I would react if my mother assaulted me with the knives. The talk during MK Ultra, in which my mother also was implicated, involved in, was weird, crazy, insane, sick, with my mother suggesting actually that I would not even know when she would have knives. Therefore, with the police during Ultra, talking to my mother, giving her a lesson on how most likely I would win the fight with a knife if she was assaulted me, that I would gain control over her knife attack, handle her. I heard her saying during MK Ultra that I would not even know where the knife would come from. And that's the screwdriver on a toilet. She was placing knives already, I noticed, in the garage, in weird locations and stuff like this. With response which I gave to, I gave him an answers on what exactly what I do is exactly what I told her again today. I told her, the only thing that's going to happen is I'm going to slam you. And the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to call the police. Was acknowledged by Igor, Juršič, Štefanič, Zajšek, investigators from Novo Mesto police station who inquired about this over and over again is not a right thing to do. And I asked him about what do you mean not a right thing to do if she's going to assault me with a knife. And they told me, they said, oh, well, because they threw me into psychiatric hospital in 2012 and because of they threw me in the psychiatric hospital in 2015. That's not what they said, but they indirectly suggested that that would not be the right thing to do because of my being thrown into the psychiatric hospital Ljubljana Polje. Therefore, the police that would arrive here would automatically take her side of the story. And that would cost me, of course, whatever they believe that they would manage to prove through the use of my mother, obviously even through the use of the knives that my mother would use during physical attack on me. This would be the response of police, basically arrest me and take me away for her literally attacking me with the knives. This was their response. It would not be the right thing to do to slap her and call the police, but I have no idea. They never gave the clue on what to do. They never told me what you should do. Everybody was involved in it. All the police officers that I met knew about this issue. They were asking about this issue. They inquired about this. They wanted to know exactly the answer on how would I react if my mother assaulted me with a knife. It was Robert Golob with me here inside of the kitchen, standing right there like this. They had me right there. Mother went out in 2008. It was between my mother and me, with Robert Golob communicating between the two of us. He went to tell her that I would slap her. Most likely I would take the knife out of her hands. That kind of stuff. She was outside. She went outside. Maybe she went to pick up something downstairs. I have no idea. Before she even came inside here, I was with the police inside here. Robert Golob came from the direction of the door. And he said to the police officer, he said he would not know where the knife is. And that brings us to this kind of issues, placing knives in areas other than area where you can observe the knife. Basically, I don't know, outside on the terrace or whatever. So even the issue with the knives, which she started to play with, was involved in MK Ultra, with police literally demanding on exactly what would I do if my mother assaulted me with the knives, beginning 2005. What do you think about this kind of stuff? As soon as I finish this case, I'm going to be missing this kind of a luxury. I will be missing this kind of luxury, in a parenthesis. This is luxury. 2 eggs, few of those leaves from the salad, 2 tomatoes, which I get to eat maybe for the first time after maybe even 1 year. and pork cracklings. Oh, yeah, I will be definitely missing. Would you like this specialty for your lunch? And this is one of the better lunches, by the way. The police was referring to this type of crime. Therefore, my mother is playing with the knives as something that mother was not aware, when psychiatrist Kapš had fingers in this, that as something as not being aware about what actually went on during MKH, without actually having, in other words, without having a capacity to discern between individual who was in front of her being drugged up and not being drugged up. That's how they refer to this stuff as. They gave it the definition that some of the people involved in MKH did not have a capacity to discern between the reality and individual drugged up in front of them. They completely analyzed the whole thing. They totally analyzed. My mother is not crazy. My mother is not insane. She knows how to act crazy. She knows how to act insane, play insane. But she explained to me during MKH even the sound, the crackling sound when you put vegetables on the hot pan and you hear them going like, you know, vapor, the humidity, the condensation going up, you know, you hear from this baking the vegetables, will be used to do something insane, to replicate insanity. My mother demanded from me under MKH to acknowledge the condensation, the frying of the vegetables, you know, the crackling sound, that she demanded from me to acknowledge that as an insanity, as a lunacy. And she said, I will be doing one of those things. Another one that she was using was a mixer. This doesn't matter, vrr, and sound and shh. What matters is how she explained, her ability to explain me, basically demand from me to view lunacy as suffering, lunacy, pathos. She demanded from me to leave myself into the stuff that she was doing. And when she would be doing this in the environment, she was totally trained by the psychiatrists, by the police. This is totally training, police, psychiatrists training the same way he trained her at the home for elderly people, how to act in front of me whenever she would bring the father outside of the building and I would want to do exercise with him. It's exactly the same way this psychiatrist trained her inside of the kitchen. In other words, these people wanted me to see not negative, but complete insanity in absolutely everything. It was part of my mother's job, part of my mother's work. Her job, her assignment, her employment is actually to drive crazy, insane, and act as someone who is actually being hurt in a process. Fake, basically, fake acting. That's what that is. She's not stupid, she's not crazy. It's exactly contrary. She's very procalculated, extremely intelligent about the stuff that she does. She is just doing this stuff so often. She is just doing this stuff so often is a good explanation for this. She's just doing this stuff so often, so frequently, with such an intensity that I myself, as a victim of this crime, would wish she is either crazy or she doesn't know what she's doing. But this is not the case. This is my wish. The reality is she's a very, very, very highly trained, the most qualified criminal for this job that possibly one could go for. They refer to my father as a dummy, as somebody who is not capable to handle the pressure, who is not capable to handle the things properly. The police did from Novo Mesto police station. And has selected one based on his inability to act so procalculated, so criminal, like my mother, as the one who's going to go at home for elderly people to sit in the chair. And they selected my mother based on her criminal qualities as the one who's going to stay, in fact, with me and go and enforce based on MK Ultra stuff that police was doing, crime against me. There's a big difference between my father and her. That's how she was actually praised like somebody who really knows what he's doing. The funny man, Andrej Štefanič, will explain. He was the one who actually was impressed with the way she acted. This was instructions during MK Ultra to always look for the knives, whatever knives. What would you use this for here? This stuff for? She was obsessed with this stuff during MK Ultra. She liked it. She loved it. This is different, very interesting. Yeah, predavanje mam. She was impressed with this stuff. You can see all kinds of stuff here, all over the place. Scissors, big ass fucking scissors. My scissors disappeared, were short like this. I had 3 pairs of them, they were gone. And during MK Ultra, the police always invited me, Igor Juršič, cops that were inside of the house always invited me to this area where the bread is kept. And for the bread, which I never use this, I don't use this shit. I use this thing here. This is what I use for everything. They keep asking me about, they keep pointing me at this, at knife, all the time knife. This, okay, mama, okay. Yeah, idiot. Yeah. So this is the way this stuff was. Yeah, vidim. Zdaj, ki si že tukaj, mi lahko še na kakšno krpico dobim za tisto, za pranje posode. This is also interesting to know where did my mother get ideas for. I already have hidden some knives. I took away knives. Where my mother got the idea for this kind of stuff. Where did she got an idea for this kind of stuff? She got an idea for this kind of stuff from Golob, who found inside of my apartment in United States of America knives and forks all over the place. In fact, those knives and forks all over the place were not only inside of our apartment, but also inside of our store in Miami downtown. So what happened with those knives and with those forks? Well, my wife, you see, she is an Indian native. She is from Ecuador. If she is still alive, I do not know. But she is from Ecuador, from South America, or was. And if I understood this properly, in 1995, when I met her first, she said to me that stuff is being used as, not exactly, as some sort of, not exactly as a fortune. She would place knives and forks. Oh, let me show you. She would take a fork. She would take a fork like this, and she would take a knife like this, a regular knife. And what she would do is she would have them crossed like this, like this, like this, and she would place them like this in the corners, like that. She would have them crossed like this in the corners of the apartment and inside of the store. I'm not having the right knives, whatever. And it would be in the corners of the apartment, inside of the store. This was just her way of life. This is, to me, this was not really normal, but given that she is from South America, the Indian from Ecuador, from Quito, and but I observed these people having different customs and just their view on life is very different. It's very different. It's very very different. Okay, it's just they have their customs. They see certain things that we don't see here in Europe. They just see it different. Okay, so for me, out of respect for her, for her way of life. Another thing is she lived all by herself, alone. A female in Miami. She also signaled me. She didn't have to signal me. There was all kinds of people coming inside of her store. She was running her own store, her own business in Miami downtown, of which some were extremely bad people. It was people that would get also killed in Miami. And herself, that she was inside of the store with people like this. I mean, I didn't even have to... I saw with my own eyes really bad people that could hurt you, kill you inside of the store. He goes inside of the store, lock the door, and nobody get to see what is going on inside of the store. And he might not only steal the money from you or rob you, but he can do something worse than that too. And she was by herself. And so once I started to, she was always desperate for me to be with her. She wanted to always have me with her inside the store. And she thanked me a million times, on a million different occasions, how much psychologically better she feels that she had a male company, man next to her. She was very, very afraid. And I would stay with her sometimes even after the hours, so that we would still get the customers that were late, that they couldn't get in other stores stuff, and they would still come to our store. I was not afraid of these thugs. So it became to me apparent that she's also using that type of stuff to, to repudiate her own fears from some intruder, from somebody that could appear out of nowhere and do something to her. This is just basically, it was her life before I came inside of that apartment in '95, and in her life inside of the store. And I was an easygoing man without searching for any kind of problems. And I always went just along with it. That's all it is. I didn't question that stuff. I figure out, basically the way I figure out is that, about everything like this, is that it can't really hurt for her to have these knives all over the place. I mean, I didn't see her as dangerous in any way. I mean, she was just, this was just basically just the way it was. I mean, I just got used to that stuff. I just accepted as it was. I lived with her like this. Nah, she just, how can I say, she would say stuff that she didn't really mean, you know what I mean? But this is just something that Robert Golob noticed, and he said it's something we have to do about it. This is something we're gonna have to do about it. He was asking me inside of our store in Miami downtown, inside of an apartment. They make themselves welcome, just like here in Slovenia. They wanted also to cook in Miami, talking about police animals here from Slovenia, Robert Golob, politicians, that they're gonna do, and I fucking threw them out. I would not tolerate them even for a second inside of in America. I wouldn't tolerate them even a second. They had an agreement with the residents from this, it was 6th floor of this apartment, 4th floor, I don't know, building. And in front of me, they gave them the signal they cannot afford to have zoo inside of that apartment building. Basically, them cooking with my ex-wife inside of the apartment and stuff like this. So they were not allowed to do the stuff like in Slovenia, where they're kings, right? Robert Golob is a baron, is a baron here. Milan Kučan is a king, and Golob is a baron. These are all barons here from. They are dukes from Novo Mesto police station. They are royals. They are like royals here. They are kings, communist kings. They were not allowed to do this in America, but in Slovenia they were allowed to do. So this is the history about play with the knives. Robert Golob said, we're going to have to do something about it. We're going to have to do something about it. He was extremely, he digged and digged and digged and digged in any issues that it would be of his interest. Anything he could turn against me, he started to dig and dig and dig and dig into it. And this was one of the issues that he found extremely motivating, interesting, intriguing, and wanted to exploit more. He wanted to get more out of it. So my mother also replicated that type of behavior from my ex-wife. That impulsive, wah, 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 wah. So, what Robert Golob got from my ex-wife, he wanted that for my mother, that kind of attitude to carry on, except my ex-wife, she never ever would do stuff with the knives and stuff like this. She never was doing, yeah, she could do crazy shit. She did crazy shit. She also did crazy shit. She actually was doing crazy shit that she's not supposed to. But this is the thing. This is a big cultural difference. In South America, you're going to have ladies all the time say, "Te voy a matar," I will kill you. But not because I want to kill you or because I want to do something bad to you. But this is just the way they say. This is just the way they communicate. They just say, oh, it was the same shit here in Yugoslavia, in Slovenia, was completely identical. In this greater Serbian Czechoslovakia, known as a Socialist Republic Slovenia, previously was the same thing. It was completely normal. The kids in the school, I will kill you, I will kill you, I will kill you, I will kill you, I will kill you. Everything was, I will kill you. Everything was, I will kill you. In South America is basically still the same thing. I will kill you, te voy a matar. All true, sometimes bad things happen over there. Way more frequent than here because people take it more seriously, whatever it is. This is just, I wish the people took it more seriously. Um, I wish the people took it more seriously. Europeans and Americans try to prove that this is not appropriate, that this is just not the way it's supposed to be, that this is not not to communicate like this, that this is just not suitable, and it's the incidents, deadly outcomes that come out of play with the knives and etc., etc., etc. Well, the fact of the matter is that what is extremely, extremely unsuitable is playing with the people in the first place. This is the most unsuitable, is to fuck around and find out system that exists all over the Europe and the US, is with people driven so crazy that it's bad stuff that comes out, tragedies about which most often mainstream media outlets, people don't even write about. I agree that knives are no good and this type of jokes should not exist. I completely agree with it. And this kind of attitude with the knives and stuff on general should not exist. Should not exist, yes. I agree with it. But America is a multicultural place. This is a location where you have all kinds of cultures intersecting, interacting with one another, and so this is just a way of life. If you don't want to be with a certain person, you're just not with that person. That's all there is to it. My ex-wife did have some crazy things like this, but all in all, she never did anything to me. All in all, she never would do anything like this to me. And I myself sometimes was playing with her. I am not the person that she would that I would be innocent person, that I wouldn't do anything. I teased her. I fuck around with her sometimes, like in a normal way, simply because it was my job. I had to do this. Sometimes she was just too fucking serious. Sometimes she was too aggressive, too violent. And when you have a person like this, you have to loosen up a little bit, that type of crazy element. Except that she too was trained by the police to act like this. This is what MK Ultra is. And so I rate her basically as somebody who, however, was not as dangerous as my mom. To put it this way, I don't know. I don't know about playing with the food, poisoning somebody, consciously poisoning one, and for me to tolerate knives. I'm not that tolerant. And based on MK Ultra scenario and with the knives that my ex-wife never ever was playing before, you're talking about this fucking knives, big knives my mother is using. It's a big difference, actually. My wife never was doing stuff like this. If she would grab a knife or something like this, she would grab like smaller size knives. She would make threats and stuff like this. She would do it. And the only thing I would do is I would disappear. So you might want to say that that might have been a mistake. The proper thing would be to call the police, inform the authorities about it. But the thing about it is that my wife, my ex-wife, despite everything, helped me out. I got the residency, green card, citizenship. I managed to stay away from here for quite a considerable amount of time. And just enough, despite being smuggled, trafficked here to Slovenia, that I somehow managed to get my shit together, my brain together. Because when I left the United States of America in 1995, I was 3/4 fucking crazy. I absolutely did not know what was right, what was wrong. I grew up in a fucking zoo. And in the States, for the first time, I had that luxury to actually start to think how, not what I want to be in life, but how my life, how to protect my life, okay? That's when I started to study police books and stuff like this, how to, it's all kinds of stuff in the US. In the US, you didn't have to go to look for trouble. You didn't have to look for trouble. The trouble is looking for you in the US. It used to be like this all over the fucking place. All you had to go is walk through the downtown at a certain hour, or you just go through the edge of the city and you got plenty fucking trouble, more than you can handle, maybe. And you really need to know how to act, how to properly counteract, take action if necessary. You have to be careful how far you can allow people to take abuse before it can turn into something more serious. And so that's why I started to get interested in, not only because I wanted to work in law enforcement, but I wanted to know more about how to handle certain things and why to handle certain things in a certain way. So this is how I got my shit together before I returned to Slovenia in 2006 for the first time in 11 and a half years. It saved my life, that's for sure. Because the moment I came here, my mother demanded from me to surrender her American passport. That's how sick this shit was. So we had this kind of stuff. I had the guy in Polish asylum. I had a guy in Poland, in Zgierz, in Grotniki, near Zgierz, near Lodz city. The guy from Chechnya who was running with a knife behind me. The same thing as he did during MK Ultra. It was a copy-paste of MK Ultra when I was at the asylum location. But the people at Polish asylum in Grotnikach, when I asked them to please relocate this guy, to move me away, they didn't want to do it. And this guy, because all the doors were always unlocked at night, this guy easily could walk inside of the room where I was and slit my throat at night time when I went to sleep. The thing is, it was all by the state people, that they were making all kinds of news while I was there and so on, knowing that I'm recording everything, but then at the same time, they were not bothered by any of this stuff because the people inside of the Grotnikach at asylum, the Chechnyan refugees, all that stuff, they were all involved in MK Ultra. So what that means is they were all inspected, pre-inspected by the state. Every one of these Russians that was in Grotnikach, in a parenthesis Russians, they were all investigated prior to arrival in Poland. Some of them did not even arrive to Poland from Chechnya. They already were in Poland. By the Polish police, they were all interacted with me already during MK Ultra. So that stuff was also completely controlled by the Polish state, for instance. So this is just the way it is. What about if I would tell my ex-wife to take those knives away, to remove all the knives? She even had the knives inside of the car, inside of this old Volvo 240, 1977 or 1976 Volvo. And in the trunk she had knife with a fork, crossed fork and knife. And she would remove those forks and knives, and the next day there would be a guy that would either rape her or kill her or something. What about then? And I would live with memory on how I was the one who told her to remove those knives and forks away. I don't like doing this kind of stuff. When I get into the people's lives, I try to change it for better. And this is basically guaranteed to me that nothing is going to go wrong. But when it comes to my mom, it's a considerable difference between what my ex-wife was doing in Miami and what she's doing, the way she's acting. It's very, very different. That's a big difference. I'm not really a fan of the knives. I never used any knife on anybody. But it was somehow involved throughout my life. First time I saw knife, and I literally under the throat, is when father placed my mom knife under the throat like this when we were just eating at the table in the old house at the Tardino in Novo Mesto. I was just maybe 6 years old. And when I saw that, he scared me tremendously. He put me completely in shock. There is also a possibility that father was doing this kind of stuff next to the parallel to MK Ultra, to totally traumatize. All through, I think that he was completely insane because his face was red and he was totally messed up, fucked up individual. And I would even at times, I even ran to the neighbors, to the Glovich, to call the police because I deemed that he is going to kill my mother. It was like this. I don't think I was even 6 years of age. I might have been even younger than that. And he repeated that stuff even inside of the home here at the Krka when we moved here at this village. He repeated the last time this stuff when I was probably about, I don't know, maybe I was like 21 years old. And I was actually sitting on the other side of the table, and he was sitting here toward the wall like this. He was always sitting here. This was also a police blah 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 thematic. Why father is sitting here? Because nobody can step in from the back. This is what a master of the house supposed to do, etc., etc. I didn't give a fuck about. They were even asking about why you sit here. You know, that was my place, or I was there, I was wherever. And father did this kind of stuff again, grabbed the knife and was shaking here at the table and so on and so forth. And I was eating the food, and yeah, I was probably about 20 years of age the last time that he did this. And I really snapped it. I don't think I was 21. I think I was 20 or 21. I just snapped it, man. When he pulled the knife out again and start during eating food to do that stuff with the knives, I grabbed the table, and the only thing I did was I squeezed him against the wall like this. Basically, the table was just, I pushed the table like this to him. I said to him, listen, man, if you're gonna one more time knife and this and that, I'm gonna fucking smash the fuck out of you. I said, never ever fucking play with a knife at the table when we eat again. Never ever threaten with a knife. You're gonna fucking calm down, or I'm gonna fucking put you to sleep. You're gonna so fucking calm down. And he was a neighbor, Metod Yerman here, a police officer who knew about this stuff. They watched all this. It appears clearly to me that they watched this stuff. And they were extremely disturbed. And that basically tells me that father was not doing, at least when I was 20, 21 years old, he wasn't doing this shit out of that. He also did not act in the same way as he was doing the stuff back in old house where we were. He wasn't doing this kind of stuff. He was acting different. I could not definitely say whether he was doing this with intent to injure somebody, threaten, terrorize because he was mentally unstable, or because he was doing this kind of stuff simply because faking it, playing it. The thing is that to me, it didn't really matter. I just didn't want to see this shit anymore. And yeah, fuck, I was ready to punch the fuck out of him if he wouldn't come down. Yeah, I told him, you're gonna fucking do that, I'm gonna put you to sleep. I told him, you have the knife in your hand, I'll fucking smack you one time, you're not gonna fucking pick yourself up. Now it's up to you. You wanna go? And he calmed down. He had to calm down. This was the first time that I actually grabbed the table and I squeezed him. I demonstrated him. I wanted him to feel how small he actually is with this bullshit. My father was also pointing a rifle at me. He pointed at me he forks. He was doing crazy stuff that most of the people would have police called on his ass. I lived with this kind of danger. I don't know, was it because of MK Ultra procedure itself? Whether it was a police that had my father do the stuff like this, or how the fuck was this? The people that are subject to MK Ultra are the people that become extremely flexible in areas that they really shouldn't be. If I had my son, and if I would teach my son, I would say, son, if you ever see stuff like this, the only thing you do is you call the police. You don't comply with the danger. But my life was such that I would go sleep and I didn't know at night time, as I was a child, if I'm going to wake up in the morning alive. Because of my father, yeah. It was all kinds of stuff. Including, I'm going to shoot you in the sleep, and, I don't want to talk about that kind of stuff. This is just my life. I've never used knives in my life, but somehow they were always present. It was always the issue of the knife. Knife this, knife that, I don't know, or fucking knife, and knife, basically. I don't know what to tell you about this stuff. This has a long history, and Robert Golob, Milan Kuchan visited our old house. They interacted with the father. They knew about this stuff. I did inform the neighbors at Tardinova about my father's attempt to kill my mom with a knife. It was people who came inside of the house, the neighbors. I don't know what to tell you. Some people like to play with the knives, I guess. And police wanted to know, Slovenian police also wanted to know, because I told them the only thing that's going to happen is, the first thing what I do is I take the knife away from you, then I slap you, then I call the police. They wanted to know the techniques, literally, how you take from an individual the knife if you're without anything in your hands. How are you going to do this? So Zajšek, Štefanič, Juršič, investigators, Golob, etc. Milan Kuchan personally, they wanted to know how I am capable to take the knife from my mother, would be in this case. How the fuck is this stuff normal? I had Zoran, Muđa, psychiatrist from Psychiatric Hospital Ljubljana Polje, who was interested in the issue of the knives. they all knew about the stuff that I told you right here. That basically is about the neighbors from Trdinova. Glavić is the family. Glavić is the family that, but it was other neighbors, they also knew about this stuff. That I ran across the street to call people to come for help because the father is trying to slit throat to my mother and stuff like this. And it wasn't once, it happened 3 times. Muđa was concerned because of one thing. He was concerned about the issue pertaining to Trdinova, that the truth about the play with the knives would come out. It appears to me that police was trying to demonstrate that I'm driving people crazy and then the people running with the knives behind me or something like that. Well, you came to the right place. Maybe just interesting. Never in my lifetime, never. I was the massiest person in my life that I know of. Everybody in the village had knife. Every person here. Never in my life owned a single knife. The first time that, I'm not gonna say owned, yeah, owned. I never ever had knife in my lifetime, man. The first time when I actually had knife, my own knife, was when I departed to Poland in 2018. That's 8 years ago. I was 46 years old when I went to Poland without nothing, without nothing. I didn't go to Poland. I went to Slovakia to file for political asylum. I had 20 euros with me. Train ticket and 20 euros. Enough for the train ticket and 20 euros. That's all it was. And I took knife with me because I had to sleep outside under the sky. And at nighttime in the forest, when you sleep, you don't know who the fuck is going to come to visit you. And that knife stayed with me even when I checked in political asylum in Poland. They stationed me in Warsaw, in Denmark, and then they transferred me to in a Zgierz area. It's called Grotniki Immigration Center. I did not carry with me the knife. The knife was inside of the backpack, whatever. And on a first opportunity, when I had meeting with the Polish immigration authorities, first meeting there was, I threw knife, and it was a really good knife. I threw one into a trash bin. I decided even like this, and it was really dangerous, walking through the forests by yourself at night, sometimes pitch fucking dark, that you could walk and you could easily step 4 hours in one direction and 4 hours in direction back. You could step into the mud, whatever the fuck you would. Maybe even some wild animal, that boars, we have all kinds of animals over there, whatever. And I preferred even so to be without the knives. This is how secure I felt about having no knife. I was just a person that didn't care about no fucking knives. My father had a knife all his life, a Swiss knife, always in the pocket. Everybody in the village had knives. Every fucking one of the people, children, walked around with the knives. I never had a knife in my lifetime. I had a problem because when I went fishing, I didn't even have the fucking knife with me to kill the fish or to clean the fish right there on the spot and stuff like this. Yeah, I was the most laid-back person when it comes to the knives and such a stuff. I never gave a shit about any fucking knives. Others did. I didn't. I had village people threatening with a knife, all kinds of stuff like this. Crazy fucking people. There is a saying that goes around here. There is no... They call it veselica. Veselica means a party. The vas, the village, veselica. Happiness is veselje, translated. There is no veselica without somebody zastegen, without somebody stabbed with a knife. They killed so many people around here with a knife, stabbed with a knife. There was so many fucking stabbing. Here in Dolenska region, in this region here, it was a fucking epidemic. During Yugoslavia, this was an epidemic of the knife stabbing wounds and such stuff. You understand? I'm a very wrong person to hallucinate to public about knife issues. You probably don't want to do that. My mom is actually stupid. This is going to the internet. Is a very, very, very wrong person to fuck with when it comes to the law. You don't actually want to fuck with me when it comes to the law. Not like this, not like that, not either way, because you're going to get fucked one way or the other. My resume is more clean than 90% of the FBI, of the Federal Bureau of Investigation, or law enforcement officers that work as a police officer across the United States. It's clean. It's clean resume. Easily could pass as a police officer, apart from lunatics here in Slovenia that they created the resume of their own. 0 is on my resume. You have a hard time proving something wrong with me. The psychiatrist by the name Zoran Muđa, he's a half Serbian and half Slovenian psychiatrist, and psychiatrist Peter Kapš. I refer to them as a trash during MKH. I used to call them trash. And I would call them trash because they were doing joints. Drogadito. They were smoking drugs. Every fucking one of these psychiatrists was a drogadito, was a drug user. In my eyes, together with Robert Golob, who was very much into drugs, I did explain the issue, his problems, drug problems. These people were labeled as a garbage, as a trash, as somebody who you just pooey. Not because they would be taking drugs and stuff like that, but because they demanded respect from me. They demanded from me to respect garbage with the psychiatric licenses at politicians without actually earning one. They actually did earn it. They wanted to look a trash in my eyes as a politicians and even as a psychiatrist, which is actually a crime. You're not supposed to do that because you're misleading public on perception pertaining to psychiatrists and politicians. That's why. Not because they would be drug users. I don't give a fuck about if people take joint or whatever they do. This is everyone, each one of you, it's your problem. I never did. So if you do it, this is just your problem. But simply because they demanded respect from me, based on the psychiatric licenses and privileges they held within the society as politicians. And that is actually when I equal them in the face as pooey. You know, trash, dirt. That's why. Maybe a bit personal. This is the type of people that the only thing you do is, I don't even know if it's worth to put inside of the prison. Stalin had a special way of dealing with the people like this. Milan Kučan, he had a... He he based his political career literally to the people that were not promising as a members of the society. Alcoholics, drug addicts, garbage, like lazy, good-for-nothing dunk. He became specialized searching for the people that were just outlaws. They were social people. Schminker, I don't know how you say that in English, but somebody who is just with the latest fashion, whatever goes around, you know? Extravagant, basically, I don't know. Social, yeah, extravagant, basically. Throwing money, happy, you know. I don't give a fuck about lifestyle, you know. The most important is, you know, that that, whatever. These are not the people that would want to go to work. These were not the people that were into work. They were not people that were into earning money the honest, earnest way. Work for money, no, sir. These were also the people that were searching for shortcuts. And that's the kind of material Milan Kučan was searching for throughout his lifetime. And was using me, therefore, a torture, hands-on torture, to demonstrate these losers what it looks like when you are nobody and nothing, when you don't actually even exist, and also the benefits of keeping an individual, certain group of people, certain portion of the society, therefore, down on knees. Turning these losers. Why was Kučan interested in that? Because it's always people that display this kind of signs. They display them because of some kind of unsatisfaction, lack of satisfaction, because of the mental problems. And went on to release those mental problems in these mental patients literally through, like I said, through the hands-on torture. And so when he was turning the people that were incarcerated, jobless, people that were, it didn't look that they're going to do anything about their lives, even into alcohol, and he started to turn lives of people like this through demonstrating them how person can be ripped apart, destroyed, and then demonstrating how the person is depressed and this and that. These people started to believe even in themselves, and they started to turn their lives around. So he was like some sort of therapist. He based his career on a crime like this. Literally, it was part of his agenda. And it was always Hochstapler, as we say. Nor did Zoran Muđa, nor did psychiatrist Kapš. These people in real world would probably not even survive. They would probably not even make it through. I remember psychiatrist Petar Kapš. I remember Zoran Muđa when Zoran Muđa was young back in the day. I know what the fuck it was. I know about the music and about all kinds of concerts and letting their life slip away, dumping the money, throwing money away on stuff that I never would do. They were not really saving money, thinking about how to spend money. They became like this when they became older, when they were demonstrated how, that other side of the world, basically, on how people can be made and how people can be destroyed. These are for me losers. These are for me plain and simple losers. The winners are the people that go about their life and they try to do best in their lives the best they possibly can. Well, I was actually used even to train psychiatrists and want to be a police. Why to become a psychiatrist? Why to become a police officer? You can be a psychiatrist, you can finish the school for the psychiatrist, but you're still not going to know why to be a psychiatrist. Why do you actually even want to do one job? Because if you're good at one job, you can be good at any fucking job. If you can't be good at the job the fuck you do, you're not going to be good at any fucking job you do out there. So these people always needed the reasons. Why? This is what I call a fuckatards. Because they didn't know what to do with their fucking lives. They needed a guidance. And that's exactly what I was used for. Although they suggested that I needed the guidance. Not quite. When it comes to knives and stuff like that, this is yet another complete miss. Completely missed. This stuff that happened today already happened before with the mama. However, I must say that every time, whenever she did this based on MK Ultra brainwash, based on the scenarios, based on the police scenarios, just like I explained again happened today. That, however, doesn't mean that I will not document. I did document, it's all recorded, this stuff also, and eventually take steps against this stuff. You can say that I'm crazy, that I'm idiot, that I'm debil, that I need to go cure myself at the psychiatric hospital Ljubljana Polje, that I'm a mental patient, and yeah, the police gave you such credentials that you can do, so that you can do bullying, harassment all the way to the play with the knives. But that doesn't mean that I'm going to be quiet about it. That doesn't mean that I'm going to comply with it. That doesn't mean that I'm going to go along with it. That doesn't mean that you're going to accomplish anything with it. You can hospitalize me right now. Day is going to come out. Day is going to come when I'm going to come out and I'm going to continue where I stopped. You understand? We're going to dance into the grave with this issue. You're saying that MK Ultra is a telepathic communication. This is what Andrej Štefanič claimed at Novo Mesto police station in 2024 when I stopped by. And I quite frankly don't give a fuck about what you have to say. Father is actually quite smart about all this stuff, you know. Usually what it would be the case is that she would have been working outside and active, and today she's not. She is actually the neighbor. And she goes there to get her therapy, to coffee type of therapy, friend talk, that kind of stuff. This is the right thing to do. When you have a heavy conversation like this, when you attack somebody, what you do is you assault. Then once you assault, you just go and you do your stuff. With the field, you go and you go to search for the help. You go see friends and, you know, you feel good about yourself. And it's like my mommy said, you're debil, mentally ill, etc., etc. You do this in hope, so the victim, like I was, her victim, for 54 years now, would go inside of the room and eat himself, close himself into his world. And that's what you call debil. That's what you call mental patient. It works. It works. It also works this time, but on the internet. This time this stuff works on the internet. There's some other stuff that I have to put about the mommy on the internet. That's actually also punishable by the law, to do the stuff like this to the people. That's actually a very serious crime. And my mother keep doing this kind of incidents all the fucking time. She does it all the fucking time. Exactly as I described. She is just... she knows exactly what she's doing. She's not crazy. She's not mentally ill. She's just such a good actor. She knows how to act, play so convincingly that even if you know that she is doing it based on MK Ultra's scenario, you still get confused about whether she's actually also mentally ill or not. That's how good she is at this stuff.